JavaScript object notation is turned into an acronym, and that's where we get JSON from. JSON is a way of storing data in strings, and it's similar to HTML and XML because all three of them store information. JSON stores information in key value pairs, and that's why you see all of those things. So let me give you an example of that. So let's say we have an email, and that email is eugene@gmail.com. The way that you turn this into a key value pair is you add quotation marks at the start and end of the information, and you separate it by a colon. So this is one key value pair right here. The key is like the name of the information. Helps you identify what it is that is the value, and the value here is the information associated with a particular key. The key must be a string. It cannot be anything else, but the value can be a string, a number, an object, an array, a Boolean value, or null. If it is, it could also be I guess number should be an integer. So if it is an integer or a Boolean value or null, then you do not need quotes. But if it's a string or if it's an object, actually, if it's an object or an array, you don't need to add quotes. It's only if it is a string that you need to add quotes. I just realized that. Sorry about that. So that makes things very simple and straightforward. Yeah, so in this case, since eugene@gmail.com is a string, you add double quotes around it. Okay, so that is a key value pair. That's how you write them. Let's say we were writing down another key value pair. You separate them with commas. So age, I'm 25. I'm going to type in 25, but since it's an integer, I don't need to use these double quotes. If I have another thing like city, I can type in that integer. Okay, and that is how you can have multiple key values. Next, we're going to go into objects. Objects are a way that you can group multiple key value pairs together. And as I mentioned, objects can be values. Objects can be stacked within each other. So the way that you create an object in JSON is to add squiggly brackets to the start and end of the key value pair or pairs. If I wanted to create an object out of these three key value pairs, I would just add the squiggly bracket here. So now we have an object. You can also combine key value pairs with objects so that if I wanted something like this, name, Eugene, info, I could open up an object right here, and then all of this information would be within the object. And that is how objects are created. And you'll see it, it can be a bit messy to read JSON, so you can always use a formatter that'll let you see things clearly. Usually when you're looking at an object within that is a value in and of itself, it'll add a lot of space to the left of everything that is a part of the value. So it makes it easier to read. So that's how objects work. Aside from objects, there are also arrays, and arrays and objects do similar things, but they're not exactly the same. We'll go into their differences very soon. One difference is that arrays they don't use squiggly brackets, they actually use square brackets. So instead of here, you would type in this. And that makes for, no, I don't think you can, yeah, that makes for an array. Generally speaking, arrays are used to group together things which are homogeneous, where they're all members of the same group. So for example, if you have a list of names or a list of books or a list of movies, then you should pick an array. Let me give you another example of an array using that. So foods, and then if I were to open up this, I would say vegetables, and then, tomato. It's a bad example. And then fruits. If I had a list of fruits that I wanted to go through, I would turn that into an array. So I would go open, and then when you're in an array, you still have to use those double quotes because you're adding, because these are strings, so you still need to use those. So fruits would be apple, comma, lemon, comma, orange. And so every element of an array is separated with a comma, so you still need to add those. And then once the array is complete, you just have another square bracket to close it off. And then once you're done with the with the elements of the object, you close that off too. And that's how JSON is structured. That's one reason for why you would choose an array over an object. It's when all of the elements within the array are of the same class. More importantly though, it becomes a lot easier to index and parse and access and manipulate information if it's in an array, because instead of typing in like extract apple or extract tomato, what you can just do is you can use the number of the element within the list. I think it's not of the type where 0 refers to the first element. So if I wanted to get apple out from this particular key value, which is part of this particular key value, I could do in the version of SQL that I'm looking at, I could do foods dot fruit and then bring this 1 over. And that makes it super easy to parse and extract information. So if you have information that is similar and not similar, if you have information that is homogeneous of the same kind, then you should use an array. And if not, then don't use an array. The third reason for why you should use an array is in situations where the order that you have a list in matters. So, if it's a list of your oldest employees, you're going to want a list that retains order. And so so that like the oldest employee comes first and then the second oldest comes second. To do that, you would use a array here. All right, and I think that is it. So that's how JSON works. That's how it's written down. We've gone through what JSON stands for, what a key value pair is, what can and cannot be a key, what can and cannot be a value, what objects and arrays are, and when to use either one. Thanks for watching.